The Universal Exchange Program seemed like such a brilliant idea. At least that is what Chancellor Vrix kept telling himself as he stood in the observation deck of the Galactic Academy Station. 3 cycles of planning, 17 committees, and enough bureaucratic approvals to fill a cargo hold, all leading to this moment. The arrival of humanity's first batch of students. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, as it turned out. Professor Kelm, a distinguished Voltaxi educator with 6 PhDs and precisely 0 experience with humans, nervously adjusted his translation collar. His purple skin had taken on a sickly lavender hue which happened whenever he felt anxious. Today he had every reason to be. They assured us the humans would come alone, Kelm muttered to his teaching assistant, a floating jellyfish creature named Pla, who communicated through color changes. The intake form specifically stated, no weapons, no contraband, no unpredictable variables. Pla flashed orange, which roughly translated to nervous laughter. The docking bay doors hissed open, and the human students began filing through. 20 of them, all young by human standards, somewhere between their 18th and 22nd solar cycles. They looked harmless enough, bipedal, wearing what appeared to be casual clothing, carrying standard-issue academy bags. Then Professor Kelm noticed the carriers, and the cages, and the tanks. Oh, merciful void, he whispered. A human female with bright red hair, who had identified herself in her application as Madison Torres, walked toward the reception area with a spring in her step and what appeared to be a medium-sized furry creature cradled in her arms. The thing had pointed ears, sharp teeth visible in its open mouth, and was making a rumbling sound that Kelm's translator unhelpfully labeled as purring, potentially dangerous. Approach with caution. Hi, Madison said cheerfully, completely oblivious to the fact that 3 Voltaxi administrators had just scrambled behind a desk. This is Mister Whiskers. He's a sweetheart, don't worry. Do not worry. The creature, this Mister Whiskers, had retractable claws that Kelm could see extending and retracting as it needed Madison's jacket. Claws? On a companion animal? What kind of death world insanity was this? Excuse me, Miss Torres, Kelm managed, his voice climbing an octave higher than usual. The Academy regulations clearly state that, well, that students are not permitted to bring predators to the educational facility. Madison's face scrunched up in confusion. Predators? Sir, this is a cat. A house cat. He's literally bred to be a companion animal. He weighs like 4 kilograms. 4 kilograms of murder, Kelm thought but did not say. Before he could respond, another human approached. This one, a tall male who had registered as Jake Murphy, was carrying what looked like a reinforced container with air holes. Something inside was scratching, loudly. Hey, Professor, Jake said with the kind of enthusiasm that made Kelm's stomach, all 3 of them, turn. I brought my ferret, Bandit. Don't worry, I made sure to bring extra bedding and his favorite toys. Oh, and I have his vaccination records if you need them. Vaccination records implied diseases. Diseases implied biological warfare potential. Kelm felt faint. Plow had turned a deep crimson, the jellyfish equivalent of screaming. What? Kelm said slowly, carefully, as if speaking to someone holding a thermal detonator. Is a ferret?
Oh, they are so cool.
Jake unlatched the container, and before anyone could stop him, he reached in and pulled out a long, sinuous creature with dark fur, a mask-like face, and an expression that could only be described as chaotic mischief incarnate. They are like part cat, part snake, part pure chaos. Bandit here can squeeze into any space, steal anything shiny, and he has got more energy than a fusion reactor. The ferret, Bandit, immediately climbed onto Jake's shoulder, surveyed the room with beady black eyes, and made a chattering sound that Kelm's translator labeled as Duke, 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 possible war cry. By now, more humans had gathered, each proudly displaying their so-called pets. There was Emma Park with a large dog, some breed called a German Shepherd, that stood at knee height, and had teeth designed for gripping and tearing. There was Carlos Mendez with a snake, an actual scaled reptile that he wore around his neck like some kind of living scarf. Someone named Tyler Okonkwo had brought a parrot, a bird with a beak that could crack nuts in a vocabulary that apparently included several hundred words, many of them profanities. This cannot be happening, Kelm said to himself, watching the nightmare unfold. This is a prestigious institution of higher learning, not a xenobiological zoo. Chancellor Vrix chose that moment to make his entrance, flanked by 2 security officers who took one look at the menagerie and immediately requested backup. Vrix was a centauri, tall, dignified, with silver skin and ceremonial robes that marked his status. He had prepared a welcoming speech, Something inspiring about unity and knowledge. He did not get to give that speech. What in the name of the 12 systems is going on here? Vrix demanded, his translator probably censoring several actual curses. Professor Kelm, your report indicated a simple student intake. Not, whatever this is. Chancellor, I assure you, I had no knowledge that the humans would bring their Kelm struggled for the right word. Pets. Madison offered helpfully, scratching Mr. Whiskers behind the ears. The cat purred louder, a sound that made several nearby Glixians, small peaceful herbivores, flee to the opposite end of the room. Yes, pets, Kelm finished weakly. Apparently on Earth, it is customary to keep predatory animals in one's dwelling for companionship. Vrix stared at Madison, then at the cat, then back at Madison. You keep a predator in your home, voluntarily? Well, yay, Madison said, as if this was the most normal thing in the universe. Humans have kept cats for like 10,000 years. They're family. They considered these creatures family, Jake chimed in. Bandit now exploring his jacket pocket. Yeah, and dogs have been with us even longer. They help us hunt, guard our homes, provide emotional support. Some of them even save lives. My cousin has a service dog that can detect seizures before they happen. Detect seizures, Vrix repeated numbly. Your cousin brought a medical predator. I mean, she did not come to the academy. But yeah, basically, Emma, the one with the German Shepherd, stepped forward. Her dog, whose name tag read Rex, sat obediently at her side, tongue lolling out in what humans apparently interpreted as a smile, but what looked to Kelm like a display of numerous sharp teeth. Look, I get that this might seem weird to you guys, Emma said, her tone reasonable, patient, like she was explaining basic physics to a child. But Rex is trained. He follows commands, he is gentle with people, and, honestly, he is probably safer than half the species on this station. No offense, none taken, squeaked a nearby Plixie, who was approximately the size of a standard briefcase and had defensive capabilities limited to playing dead. Tyler's parrot chose that moment to squawk loudly. Pieces of 8. Pieces of 8. Shut up, Tyler. Cosmos, I am sorry about that, Tyler said, looking genuinely embarrassed. Captain Flint has a limited vocabulary and most of it is, inappropriate. I am working on it. The bird, Rick said faintly, speaks? Oh yeah, parrots are wicked smart, Tyler confirmed. They can solve puzzles, use tools, and some species have the cognitive ability of a human toddler. Captain Flint here is an African gray, one of the smartest birds on Earth. Tyler is an idiot, the parrot announced proudly. Several humans laughed. The aliens did not. Professor Kelm made a decision. Chancellor, may I suggest we convene an emergency meeting? Perhaps we can establish some parameters regarding these animals before the students are integrated into the general population. An excellent idea, Vrix said, grateful for the excuse to retreat. Humans, please remain here with your companions while we discuss accommodations. As the administrators fled, walked purposefully toward the conference room, the humans settled in, chatting among themselves, completely comfortable with their deadly menagerie. Mr. Whiskers had fallen asleep in Madison's arms, a tiny murderous angel. Bandit was attempting to steal someone's stylus. Rex was getting belly rubs from 3 different students. The snake, whose name was apparently Noodle, was just existing, doing snake things. In the conference room, Kelm pulled up the human intake files on his datapad, scrolling frantically. There has to be something here, some warning about this cultural practice. Chloe flashed purple, suggesting they contact Earth directly. No, Vrix said firmly. That would be admitting we did not adequately prepare, which would reflect poorly on our institution. We must handle this internally. But Chancellor, Kelm protested, we are not equipped to deal with predatory animals. Our station veterinary services are designed for standard companion species, herbivores, small non-threatening creatures. We have one veterinarian on staff, Dr. Plim, whose specialty is treating anxiety in prey species. Then we adapt, Vrix said, trying to project confidence he absolutely did not feel. We set boundaries, establish rules. How dangerous can these creatures really be? The humans seem to have them under control, as if the universe itself wanted to answer that question. An alarm began blaring in the docking bay. Kelm and Vrix rushed back to find organized chaos. Bandit the ferret had escaped, naturally, and was now leading a dozen security officers on a chase through the ventilation system. Rex the dog had detected some kind of threat, possibly the security officers' elevated stress levels, and was barking protectively while Emma tried to calm him down. Captain Flint the parrot was dive-bombing a Glixian who had made the mistake of wearing something shiny, and Mr. Whiskers, sweet innocent Mr. Whiskers, had spotted a Flibian maintenance worker whose species bore an unfortunate resemblance to mice. The cat had locked on target. Code Amber, someone shouted. Predator engaging prey species. Madison scooped up her cat just as he was about to pounce, completely unaware of how close they had come to an interstellar incident. Bad kitty. No hunting the nice alien. Mr. Whiskers looked supremely unbothered, already planning his next attack. Kelm turned to Vrix. Sir, with all due respect, we are not prepared for this. Vrix watched a human named Sophie retrieve Bandit from an air duct using what appeared to be a squeaky toy in sheer determination. No, the Chancellor agreed quietly. We really are not, and they still had 19 more human students to process, 19 more potential disasters waiting to happen. This was going to be a very long semester. The emergency faculty meeting lasted 4 hours, which was approximately 3 hours and 50 minutes longer than Chancellor Vrix had hoped. Sitting around the crescent-shaped conference table were representatives from every major department: xenobiology, station security, residential life, and one very unfortunate counselor named Thip, who specialized in cross-species mediation and looked like he deeply regretted his career choices. Let me see if I understand this correctly, said Commander Zarel, head of station security, his crystalline exoskeleton clicking with agitation. The humans have brought approximately 20 different predatory organisms onto this station, none of which were declared in their applications, and we are now expected to simply, allow this? Professor Kelm nodded miserably. According to the cultural database I have been frantically reviewing for the past hour, human pet keeping is not merely common, it is nearly universal. Approximately 67% of human households contain at least one animal, often multiple species living together in what they call harmony. Harmony, Zarella repeated, his tone suggesting he thought the word meant something very different in human language. I watched a creature called Bandit disable 3 security checkpoints in 12 minutes. That is not harmony, that is tactical infiltration. The ferret was just playing, Kelm offered weakly. Playing, Zarell's translator somehow managed to convey sarcasm. Wonderful. Perhaps next they will bring something that hunts for fun. Thip, the counselor, raised a tentacle hesitantly. I actually researched that. Cats do hunt for fun. So do dogs to a lesser extent. And apparently there is another common human pet, called a terrier, that was specifically bred to kill rodents, and they do so with what the literature describes as enthusiastic efficiency. The room fell silent. Why? Vrix finally asked, the question escaping before he could stop it. Why would an intelligent species deliberately cohabitate with creatures designed to kill? From what I can gather, Kale said, scrolling through his datapad, humans find it comforting. The animals provide what they call companionship, unconditional love, stress relief, and in many cases protection. There are documented cases of human dogs, yes, the large fanged ones defending their families from intruders, wild animals, even fires. So, they are weapons, Dizrael concluded. No, they are family, Kelm corrected. At least, that is how humans see them. The bond between humans and their pets appears to be genuinely emotional, not transactional. They mourn these creatures when they die, celebrate their birthdays, spend significant portions of their income on their care and well-being. Vrix rubbed his temples, a gesture he had learned from watching human entertainment broadcasts. What are our options? We could ban the animals entirely, Zarel suggested. Send them back to Earth on the next transport. That would violate the exchange program agreement, Thip pointed out. The treaty specifically states that students may bring personal items of cultural significance within reason. If we start banning things without cause, it sets a dangerous precedent. Without cause? Drell's voice rose. We have a 4-kilogram apex predator loose in the residential halls. That seems like cause to me. Mr. Whiskers is contained, Kelm said. Madison has him in her quarters, and she assures me he will remain there during class hours. And we believe her? Kelm did not answer because honestly he was not sure. A junior administrator named Kix spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. I actually met some of the humans while you were all meeting. They seemed nice. Very willing to follow rules if we explain them clearly. Oh, good, Zarel said. We will just explain to the predators not to eat anyone. Problem solved. Commander, sarcasm is not productive, Vrix said tiredly. Neither is being eaten, Chancellor. Eventually, after much debate and several stress breaks, they reached a compromise. The humans could keep their pets under strict conditions. All animals must remain in designated areas, undergo health screenings, and their owners would be held personally responsible for any incidents. There would be mandatory safety orientations for both humans and their pets. Any animal that showed genuine aggression, not playfulness, not instinct, but actual unprovoked aggression, would be immediately removed. It was not a perfect solution, but it was something. The next morning, Professor Kelm stood before his first class of the semester, Introduction to Quantum Mechanics, feeling like he was about to defuse a bomb. The classroom was a standard lecture hall, tiered seating, holographic display boards, adequate ventilation. He had specifically requested that human students with pets not attend this first session. Naturally, 3 of them showed up anyway. Madison sat in the front row, Mr. Whiskers, somehow secured in what she called a pet carrier, though it looked more like a mobile containment unit. Jake was 2 rows back, Bandit mercifully asleep in a cozy hammock attached to his backpack, and Emma had brought Rex, who lay quietly at her feet, apparently capable of perfect stillness when commanded. The non-human students gave them a wide berth. "Good morning, class," Kelm began, trying to project calm confidence. "Welcome to Introduction to Quantum Mechanics. I am Professor Kelm, and I will be your instructor for this course. Before we begin, I want to address the unique situation we find ourselves in." A Voltaxi student raised their hand. "Professor, is it true that humans keep predators in their sleeping chambers?" "That is, well, yes, technically," Kelm admitted. "But I have been assured these animals are domesticated, meaning they have been bred over many generations to be compatible with human cohabitation. My great-aunt was eaten by something similar to those creatures." A plexi squeaked from the back row. Madison turned around, looking genuinely distressed. "Oh no, I am so sorry. But I promise Mr. Whiskers would never hurt anyone. He is the sweetest cat in the world." As if to prove her point, Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to make a sound that Kelm's translator labeled as meow, possible greeting or demand for food. Several students flinched. "Perhaps," Kelm said carefully, "we should establish some ground rules. Humans with pets, your animals must remain secured during lectures. No exception." "Absolutely," Professor Emma agreed. "Rex is trained to stay in place during quiet time. He won't move unless I give him permission or there is an emergency." "What constitutes an emergency?" Kelm asked, suddenly worried. "Oh, you know, fire, medical crisis, someone threatening me or him. The usual stuff." "The usual stuff. Right." Kelm took a deep breath and launched into his lecture, diving into the fundamentals of quantum superposition. To his surprise, the class went relatively smoothly. The humans were attentive, asked intelligent questions, and their pets remained quiet. Mr. Whiskers napped. Bandit stayed in his hammock. Rex did not move a single muscle except to occasionally thump his tail when Emma glanced down at him. Maybe, Kelm thought, this would not be so bad after all. Then the fire alarm went off. It was a drill, just a standard safety protocol, but nobody had thought to warn the humans about the specific pitch and frequency of the alarm. It turns out that pitch, around 900 Hz, was remarkably similar to what dogs on Earth interpreted as a distress signal. Rex was on his feet instantly, barking loud enough to rattle the holographic displays. Emma was trying to calm him, but the dog was in full protection mode, scanning for threats, placing himself between Emma and the... Mr. Whiskers woke up, assessed the situation, and decided this was absolutely not acceptable. He began yowling, a sound that Kelm had not known cats could make, something between a siren and a territorial warning. Bandit, not wanting to be left out, started doing his war cry "Duke, Duke, Duke" thing while attempting to squeeze through the mesh of his carrier. The non-human students panicked. In their defense, they had every reason to panic. To prey species students, the sudden explosion of noise from multiple predators sounded exactly like the beginning of a coordinated hunt. They scrambled for exits, climbing over seats, activating personal shields. One Glixian actually fainted. Everyone remained calm. Kelm shouted over the chaos, which was about as effective as shouting at a supernova to dim down. Madison had gotten Mr. Whiskers out of his carrier and was holding him close, whispering soothing words. Jake was doing something similar with Bandit. Emma had Rex in a sitting position, one hand on his head, speaking in low, firm tones, and slowly, remarkably, the animals calmed down. "Good boy," Emma murmured. "It is okay, just a loud noise. You are safe. I am safe. Good boy." Rex stopped barking, though his ears remained alert, swiveling toward every sound. "See?" Madison said to the room at large, most of which had emptied. "They are good pets. They just got startled." Kelm sank into his chair, wondering if there was a regulation that allowed professors to retire mid-semester. The incident report from that morning was 17 pages long, but something interesting happened in the days that followed. The humans, faced with the reality that their pets genuinely terrified their classmates, stepped up. They organized information sessions, bringing their animals to controlled meet-and-greet events where other students could observe from safe distances. Madison created pamphlets explaining cat behavior, body language, what purring meant versus hissing. Jake demonstrated how Bandit could do tricks, emphasizing that the ferret was playful, not dangerous. Emma worked with station security to show how well-trained Rex actually was, proving he would only respond to specific commands and genuine threats. Slowly, very slowly, some of the other students started to come around. A brave Voltaxi named Kix attended one of the sessions and actually touched Mister Whiskers, discovering that his fur was soft, his purr was soothing, and he did not immediately devour anyone. He is actually quite pleasant, Kix admitted, sounding shocked. Right? Madison beamed. Cats are wonderful once you get to know them. By the end of the second week, there was a waiting list for the human-pet interaction sessions. Students from dozens of species, most of whom had never seen a predator up close without running away, were signing up to meet these strange Earth creatures. Professor Kelm watched from the observation deck as Tyler taught Captain Flint to say hello in 6 different alien languages. The parrot was a natural, picking up phrases with ease, though he still insisted on inserting profanities at random intervals. Hello, friends. Tyler smells funny. Pieces of A. The students loved it. I do not understand, Kelm said to Plo, who was floating beside him, currently glowing a contented blue. How did we go from crisis to this? Plo flashed yellow, which meant something like humans adapt. Everyone adapts. I suppose you are right, Kelm mused, though I still have nightmares about that ferret. Chancellor Vrix joined them, looking far less stressed than he had 2 weeks ago. Professor, I have just received word from the Galactic Education Board. They want to feature our human exchange program in their next promotional materials. Apparently, the diversity of species interaction is unprecedented. They want to promote this. Kelm could not hide his surprise. Indeed, Vrix said, actually smiling. It seems we have accidentally created the most successful integration program in Academy history. Who would have thought that predatory animals would be the key to cross-species understanding? Down in the common area, a group of students had gathered around Carlos, who was explaining the environmental importance of snakes, while Noodle, draped across his shoulders, did absolutely nothing threatening whatsoever. Snakes control rodent populations, help maintain ecosystem balance, and are honestly just misunderstood, Carlos was saying. Noodle here is a ball python, completely non-venomous, and his favorite activities are eating, sleeping, and occasionally pretending to be a scarf. A Centauri student tentatively reached out to touch Noodle's scales. He is actually rather beautiful, thank you, Carlos said proudly. Professor Kelm shook his head in wonder. Perhaps humans are not so strange after all. Or perhaps we are all a bit strange, and we are just learning to appreciate it. Profound words, Professor, Vrix said. Kelm is a nerd, Captain Flint announced from across the room. I am revoking my statement, Kelm said flatly. Humans are definitely strange, but as he watched Madison help a nervous Plixie student pet Mister Whiskers, both species learning to trust each other despite millennia of evolutionary programming, Professor Kelm had to admit that maybe strange was not such a bad thing. After all, the universe was vast, diverse, and full of surprises, and if Deathworlders wanted to bring their pets to class, well, who was he to judge? Besides, he had already gotten used to the sound of barking during quantum mechanics lectures, mostly.